Right, we are back to finish the entire question paper where we left it. Then that is 1.1.2. Then we head straight to 1.1.3. In 1.1.3, we have x squared minus 5x minus 6 greater than 0. Then the type of equation that we have here, it is called the quadratic inequality. Now, remember, before you solve the quadratic inequality, you have to check if that equation is in the standard form of ax squared. In the first, we have the x squared term plus bx. The second term will be a term with an x plus c. The c is the constant number. And when we look into this quadratic inequality, it is already in the standard form. Remember, the first step that we need to undertake here with the quadratic inequality is to indicate the weight CV. The word CV says this is quadratic inequality. We first have to find what is called the critical values. The critical values are the values of x that are going to assist us to find the actual solution that is going to what? That is going to fit in, or that is going to satisfy this inequality, or the quadratic inequality. Now, when you have written the word CV, you have the liberty to write this quadratic inequality in the equation form. What does that mean? It means we are going to rewrite the same equation as x squared minus 5x minus 6 minus 6, that is equal to 0. Why are we writing this inequality, quadratic inequality, as an equation? Because boldly we have indicated the word CV. Then we have that liberty. We have that liberty to write the word. We have that liberty to write it in an equation form. Now you will choose if you want to use the quadratic formula or you want to use the factorization. But for those who are doing technical mathematics, please use the quadratic formula so that you get the correct critical values. But if you have an adequate knowledge of applying the factorization here, you can go and apply the factorization. Then already here we have written our quadratic formula. We are just going to substitute correctly. Quadratic formula, it says x is equal to negative. Remember, the value of b that we have on the quadratic formula here, it is the number that comes before an x. In a nutshell, it is the coefficient of an x. In this case, here is our x. The coefficient of x in this regard is -5. Because it has a negative sign, when we substitute here, we are going to introduce a bracket. -5. Close bracket. Plus and minus. The square root. It says b squared. It says b squared. The value of b, remember we must have a bracket here, -5, all squared. -4. The value of a that we are going to substitute here, it is a number before an x. And we see that here we have only the number before an x squared. And we see that we only have an x squared. There is a 1 that is silent here. That mathematically we don't write, but it is there. It is a 1 that is silent. Then in this case, our A is going to be positive 1, close bracket, open bracket. Then the value of C, it is our constant. In this case, our constant is negative 6, close bracket. Then everything all divide by 2. Then the value of A that we have is positive 1, close bracket. Then the first critical value, X is equal to, or the second critical value, X, it will be equal to. Then let us use our calculator to punch what we have there. Negative into negative 5 plus square root, open bracket, negative 5 all squared, minus 4, open bracket, positive 1, close bracket, open bracket, negative 6, close bracket. We go at the bottom, 2 into 1, close bracket, equals to. The first solution of X that we have, it is X equals to positive 6, which is the first critical value. We go back to positive, we put a negative there. Then the second solution, or the second critical value, will be negative 1. Now let us clear some space here so that we are able to utilize that space for 1.1.3. Right, we can proceed. Now we got our critical values to be x equals to positive 6 and x equals to negative 1. These are not the solution for this inequality, quadratic inequality. These two are the critical values that are going to assist us to find the actual solutions of x. From finding the critical values, you must go straight to the number line. Then we are going to start with the smallest critical value. We are going to indicate the smallest critical value on the number line. Then the critical value with the negative is the smallest. Then we are going to put a negative 1 here. Then the second critical value will be a bigger critical value. In this case is negative 6. Now, after you shall have indicated the critical values on the number line, please you go back to your original quadratic inequality. You check if this inequality, it has a bar. What do I mean? If it has a bar, it must have greater or equal to. This part of the inequality, it is a bar. Then the inequality that we have here, it does not have this bar. Then that is an indication to say we are not going to shade our critical values on the number line. If the critical value, it does not have a bar, we don't shade, we use what is called open circles. Then we draw our parabola. We are going to draw our parabola. Then after you shall have drawn your parabola, we must go and interpret this inequality. The inequality, it says greater. This is a greater inequality. The word greater means positive. The word positive, it means you must check here on this parabola that we have drawn, which part of the parabola it is positive. How do you check that? Which part of the parabola here, it lies above the number line. Here is our number line. we are going to check the region of the parabola that lies above. Then when you check here from this critical value, this line here, it lies above the number line. And also this part of the parabola, it lies above the number line. Then these are the two regions that where the parabola it is a positive. Then we are going to shade. How do we shade? We are going to shade on this side of the parabola, and also shade on this side. Meaning that where we have shaded, that's where the solutions of x are going to lie. Then how many times did we shade on this parabola? We have shaded twice. If you shaded twice, it means you have to have how many x's? We need to have two x's. We put the first x on the first critical value, here it is, and we put another x on the second critical value. In between we put an OR. Then we are saying all values to this direction of the critical value, those are the solutions of x that are going to satisfy this inequality. Then which values are lying on this part of the critical value? We have -2, -3, -4, -5, -6, and so on. Now, we want to find out all these values on this direction. Are they smaller than or larger than the critical value? The -2, -3, -4, -5, they are smaller than the -1. It means x, it must be smaller. How do you indicate smaller with the critical value? It means that part of the critical value, it must what? It must point the x. When this part of a critical value point the x, it means x, it must be less than -1. Then we come to this part of the critical value, the second one, which is the 6. We have shaded this direction. Which values are on this direction? We have +7, +8, +9, +10, and so on. Are those numbers larger or smaller than 6? We know that 7, 8, 9, 10, and so on, they are bigger. Then it means x, it must be greater. This part, it must face an opposite direction to an x. Then x, it must be greater than what? +6. Then this will be the two solutions for this critical value, for this quadratic inequality. That is that. Then 1.3. In 1.3, we are required to solve for x and y simultaneously. If y is equal to 8x minus 1 and y is equal to 3x squared plus what? Plus 4. Now, from these two equations, this one, it is our linear equation. This one is our quadratic equation. If you don't know how did I come to that, please check my first video on algebra, solve for x. Now, we see that in this equation, both of the equation, examiner has already made y the subject of the formula. Then since that is the case, we are going to substitute. Then what are we going to substitute? We are going to substitute equation number 1 into equation number 2. Meaning that y is equal to 8x minus 1. It means that 8x is equal to y. Where we see y in equation number 2, in this case, this will be equation number 2. Where we see y in equation number 2, we are going to write 8x minus 1 in the place of an y. This is the substitution part. Then equation number 2 start with the y. Remember, in the place of an y, we are going to substitute 8x minus y minus 1. That is equals to, we go on with equation number 2. After equals to, what do we have? We have 3x square plus a positive 4. Now, after you shall have substituted correctly here, what needs to happen? We need to make sure that this equation is in the standard form of ax squared plus bx plus c, that is said to be equal to a 0. Now, this term, it needs to be transposed to the left hand side so that we have an x squared term first. Now, since while it is positive on this side, we need to transpose it to this side. Then when we transpose, we have negative 3x square. Then it says plus bx. Now already on the right hand side, we have a term with an x. It remains unchanged with each side. Then it becomes a plus 8x. Then it says plus c. C is the number. In this case, the number that we have on the left hand side, it has a negative 1. Remember, on the right hand side, we have a positive 4. We need to transpose it to the left hand side. It has a positive sign. When you transpose it to this side, it becomes minus 4. That is said to be equal to 0. Now, negative 1 and negative 4 that we have here, they are like terms. Then everything else that we see here, we are going to just write it as it is. We have negative 3x squared plus 8x. Now, we need to check the sign between these two numbers. A1, it has a negative sign. A4, it has a negative sign. Therefore, the signs are actually the same. If that is the case, you take the sign as it is. Because they are the same, you take the sign as it is. After you add these two numbers, 1 plus 4, it results to positive 5. Negative 5, that is equal to a 0. After you shall have done that, now you have a quadratic equation in the standard form. Then what needs to happen now? You need to apply the quadratic formula to find the x. Then we are going to say x is equal to negative. Remember, it says negative b. In this case, the value of b that we have here is a positive 8. We are going to have 8 plus and minus the square root of b squared. In this case, open bracket, 8 close bracket, all square, minus 4. Then it says substitute the value of a. In this case, the value of a that we have here it is negative 3. The value of c that we have here it is negative 5. Everything here all divide by 2 into negative 3. Then x is equal to, or x is equal to. Now let us apply our calculators. Negative 8 plus square root of 8 all squared minus 4, negative 3, negative 5, 2 into negative 3. The first value of x that we have is 1. We go back, put a negative. The second value of x that we have is 5 all over 3. Now let us erase here so that we have enough space. Since well we have the solutions of x that we need, here they are, we must go and find their corresponding y. Then we are going to use the equation where y is the subject of the formula. In this case, we are going to apply or use equation number 1. We are going to say y is equal to 8. Where we see x, we are going to substitute the first value. In this case is 1 minus what? 1. Then y is equal to, then 8 multiplied by 1 is 8. 8 minus 1, we have positive 7. Or, using the same equation, we are going to substitute the second value of x. Y, that is equal to 8, open bracket, 5, all over 3, close bracket, minus what? 1. Then y is equal to 8, open bracket, 5 over 3, minus 1. Then the second value of y will be 37 all over 3. That is the simultaneous equation that we have here.